Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and it's always a good day when my longtime friend and colleague is in the studio, and that is Dr. Paula Cordeiro, the Dammeyer. Am I pronouncing Rod's name right? Is it Dammeyer?
Dammeyer.
Very good. The distinguished professor of global leadership and education at USD Kroc School. How you doing, Paula?
I'm great. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And you got your colleague with you. Juan, is it Roche?
Yes.
Very good. And you're professor of practice for USD. And joining me is our curiosity shipper. As our listeners know, we don't do internships here at Cloudcast Media. We do curiosity ships. And joining me is my guest co-host is Kamara White. She is graduated from Mount Carmel High School, will be going to St. Martin's in Washington State as a communications major and on a volleyball scholarship. How you doing, Kamara?
I'm doing good, thank you.
So you enjoying these interviews?
Yes, I'm learning a lot.
Very, very, very good on this. So we'll go ahead and let you ask the first question.
So what is the mission of USD specifically pertaining to the Kroc School?
Well, they're a part of the DNA of the Kroc School is to ensure that we're offering our students opportunities to look at impact of the programs that they're in. And in particular, this is a school of peace studies, so there's a focus on peace, justice, and innovation. So all of our programs are master's degrees. They're all targeting those areas, and students, the kind of work they do is to focus on justice and social and issues of peace.
Right. And do they focus on, from a global standpoint? Is it from a national standpoint, solar system standpoint?
Yeah, it's international for sure. Our students come from all over the world, although most of them, a good number of them, are from Southern California. But yes, they would like to go back, predominantly work in international NGOs, but also here in San Diego to work in either the for-profit or the not-for-profit sector.
Right. So Juan, what are some of the topics, some of the things that the students discover at the Kroc School? And maybe specifically to one of the things you guys are going to be chatting about, the Global Executive Seminar.
Oh, that's a great question, and I like the way you phrase it. What is it to discover?
Right.
And what that brings to mind is that one of the courses that I teach is called Reimagining Capitalism, and most of our students are fairly suspicious of the capitalist system or the free market economy. And one of the things that they discover is that through free market economy, through business innovation and ingenuity, they can tackle important social issues. So that's very surprising for them. They come out with, wow, I didn't know that. And that's part of what we try to give the students those tools. That's how.
Right. And Paula, are there advanced degrees through the Kroc School? Are there masters? Are there PhDs? Certainly undergrad as well.
Yeah, we have several master's degrees. We started out with a Peace and Justice Master's. We also have a joint JD, MA. There's one in conflict management. And then Juan and I teach in the Master's in Social Innovation.
So what is social innovation?
Well, we all have ideas about how we are going to do things, right? And when you look at what is social innovation, these are innovative ideas. They're novel ideas. And so the courses that we teach, we're bringing those ideas, they're from around the world, our community as well as around the world, to approach the challenges that we face using these novel solutions.
Right. And so, Juan, let me ask you this. And Paula is all about data, and I'm sure you are too. How does someone measure the success of, we're doing this course of study for to learn about these types of things? Is some of this stuff working? How do we know what's working? What type of data do you use for that?
Well, I mean, from when they get out of school and then begin to apply these type of things.
Exactly.
Well, as Paula said, social innovation is very difficult to define. So it's even more difficult to understand what the impact at the end is going to be, because it's a lot about trial and error in many things. And so many times you have to try, and you're going to fail until you make it. So, but at the end, to just answer your question, is you measure the effectiveness on the change that you produce in society for good. Depending on what it is that you're tackling, then you use different measures.
Right. We're chatting with our friends from USD Kroc School, Dr. Paula Cordeiro and Juan Roche, and I'm joined by my curiosity shipper, my guest co-host Kamara White, as you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 17th year in this beautiful Mission Fed studios here in Scripps Ranch. And Mission Fed's been doing terrific things in San Diego for more than 60 years. Kamara, you got another question?
Yes, so can you just talk a little bit about the B Corp certification, what that is, how that affects students, how is that a part of the program?
Sure. It's interspersed in different classes, but when students join, they usually take my class in the fall, which is social entrepreneurship. So we look at all different forms of business for good. One of the key forms are benefit corporations. That's a legal status, a B corporation. But in particular, we are interested in what's called certified benefit corporations. There are now 6,500 or so in the world. San Diego has somewhere around 35 of them that have passed this very rigorous certification in several different areas where they're looking at their workers, they're looking at the governance structures, what is their environmental impact. So our students have an opportunity to meet people in the certified B Corp community, and many of them want to work in these companies.
Right, exactly. Would you say that, there's many goals of what you folks are doing, of course, peace and justice and so forth, and we're going to talk about the Global Executive Seminar, in a bit here. But for Juan, in this area, is the idea, as much as you can, to try to level the playing field, to try to make things more equitable, whether it's the students that are in the program or the folks that are benefiting from their work? So equity, how important is equity part of what you folks do?
Well, it's very important. One of the things that our students come to the program because they truly want to change the world.
Exactly.
And so equity is a fundamental part of everything that we do. And I think that one of the things that, again, going back to the surprise part, is that the students get a better understanding of equity. And equity is not about leveling the playing field, bringing everybody down. They get to understand that is bringing everybody up.
100%.
Yeah,
exactly. So I was so looking forward to this interview with. We try to stay out of politics on my Spotlight show as much as I can. Hard to when you turn on the TV and not see it 24/7, for God's sake. But when you talk about peace and justice, okay, and you talk about comes with justice, our laws. We are a nation of laws. You think sometimes in this world over that. Do the students see what's going on? And it's pretty unprecedented, at least in my lifetime, what we see going on in the national landscape with attacks on the Justice, DOJ, and FBI and all that. Do they ask questions about that at all?
Yeah, all the time. So they're very informed. So our students, I would say typical age is 25, right. 27 in there. Maybe a couple of years work experience behind them. They want to work in organizations that are addressing issues of climate change. They want to work in organizations that are paying people living wages. They want to work in organizations where people in purpose are central, not only profit. So yes, they are aware of what's going on. Many of them are absolutely disgusted with it, and they just want to focus on making sure that their careers are purposeful and improving the planet.
Yeah, let me ask you this: how much Juan? Because in the same vein here, and I get to ask this question quite a bit. As Paula knows, I spent about 11 years working for San Diego Unified, developing curriculum, blah 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 blah. And you always hear all this, we need to get civics back into the classroom, okay? So people actually understand how our laws work at all this business and so forth. Does that play into a lot of what your folks are doing? Because I would hope, especially with the students that you folks have, that there is an outcry on we need to get back to some of the fundamentals of how this country was formed and all that business when it comes to justice, when it comes to laws and all that. How much of that is part of the conversation of what you folks are doing?
Well, it's very much part of the conversation because, again, the students that come to the program are students that want to see that change.
That's right.
So it's a conversation that happens in every single class. I would say that we don't have a specific civics or ethics class,
right?
And the reason is that we talk about civics and ethics in every single class,
right?
Because it's part of the idea. One of the things that I found interesting is that most of our students are, without getting into politics, but they will never watch Fox News, for instance. but I encourage them to do it
because it's a different perspective.
You need to get the different perspective,
right?
Even if you have to, put your fingers in your nose to listen to that, but and they understand it. So yeah.
Well, I think what's so fascinating about this is when we see, and Kamar and I were chatting about this. We had Martin Kruming on recently, and Paula knows Martin. Martin's a media lawyer, Juan, and I've worked with him for many, many years. Teaches media law at San Diego State, and it was just fascinating because Martin was asking Kamar a bunch of questions about how the students, delineate what's true, what's not true. If you're watching Fox and you go, boy, that's exact opposite what I heard on MSNBC or whatever. Good dialogue and all that, and that aspect of it. And I just love the vibe of peace and justice. When did that get formed? When did that Kroc Center get formed, Paula?
Well, the Institute, Mrs. Kroc gave a gift for an institute first. So the Institute for Peace and Justice, I want to say somewhere around 2005, 2006, somewhere in there.
Right. And the reason why I bring that up is Paula knows, because I'm old, 100 years older than everybody in this room over here. I started working with USD with one of her colleagues, Dr. Ed Roche, in the mid-'80s. And, of course, it was before that the beautiful Mother Rosalie Hill Hall that Paula and her team built, of course, and the Peace and Justice. And there's so many great things coming from this aspect of it. But I think perspective is so critical. Let me ask you this question, do a little bit of a shift over here. What is the USD Global Executive Seminar? What is that all about? Yeah,
so this is a new seminar that our dean asked us to create something for mid-career, late-career people, even early retirees, people who are in the second half of their career or their life, and they want to do business better. So it's a 15-day, 10-month program, so it's spread out over 10 months.
Yep.
There's a total of 5 days in San Diego, some online sessions. We're going to Spain for a week, some more online sessions, and then we're going to Rwanda, Africa for a week.
Nice.
And then we'll be back in San Diego at the end.
No, that's terrific. So how many students go through the Kroc School in any given school year?
Well, we just added on another degree in the Master's in Humanitarian Action. So for master's students, maybe 75 or so enter every fall.
Right, exactly. We come back from break. We're going to chat more with Paula Cordeiro and Juan Roche from the USD Kroc School. Talk about what are purposeful organizations, what's impact investing, we always save time at the end of the interview, what our listeners can do to support your efforts specifically, and maybe the university as a whole, when we return with another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest running community podcast, now in its 17th year here in the Mission Fed Studios in Scripps Ranch. And Mission Fed have been doing great things in our community for more than 60 years. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. We are here with our friends from USD Kroc School, Dr. Paula Cordeiro, joined by her colleague Juan Roche, professor of practice. My guest co-host is Kamara White. She graduated from Mount Carmel High School, will be an incoming freshman at St. Martin's College up in Washington State as a communications manager. I know you have a question for, I think, Juan.
Yes, so what are purposeful organizations, and are there any in particular that the students closely collab with?
Well, yeah, I think that most good organizations are organizations that have a purpose. I haven't met in a very long career that I had in the business world any entrepreneur whose purpose was to make money. Usually, the purpose is to do something good. Now, unfortunately, I think that many organizations, when they lose the idea of having a very strong purpose and focus only on profits, then they stop being a good organization. So an organization with purpose is an organization that is focused on creating wealth for the community, not necessarily only profits for the stockholders. And there is a clear in the ethos of the organization and the vision and mission of the organization, there is a clear social role that organization is going to be playing. Profits are going to be a consequence of that. Now, when Paula was talking about B corporations, then B corporations are businesses that have gone through this certification where the purpose is not only stated, but there are guidelines on how you're going to measure your impact in social issues, in environmental issues, in the way that the company is managed. So a purposeful organization is one that looks at the community as a whole and that has a stakeholder's view of the business world. So
does one come to mind? One of these purposeful organizations in San Diego County?
Well, yes. Bronner's is one of them. Okay. Taylor's Guitar is another one.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
Paula. Yeah. So exactly on that. And then is there, who judges them on its purposeful? I mean, is there a Good Housekeeping purposeful organization, Paula?
It's an international organization.
Okay.
So there are what's called B labs for these certified companies. And again, they're growing exponentially across the world.
That's fantastic.
Juan and I were in Spain, visited B Lab.
That's great.
I'm talking to B Lab North America. So if a company in San Diego wants to become B Corp certified, they can go onto the website, look at the assessment, play with it a little bit. And if they decide to apply, they have to reach a particular score of 80 out of 200.
Right.
And a lot of companies don't meet that score. So it takes an effort. You have to be recertified every 3 years. So in order to do this, you have to really care about the various stakeholders and how your company is collaborating with them.
So the benefit for doing this and being at that, besides the fact it's doing good things in the community, that should be good enough, right? And to your point, Juan, well, listen, I want to support these organizations that are doing great things in the community, especially with ties to the exit. It's a perfect case for, cause marketing. We've talked about this for a million years. I want to support this group when they do the same thing as Group B, but they stand for something, whether it's breast cancer research or it's safety or it's whatever the case may be. And then you can track and say, listen, because of X, Y, and Z you're doing, people want to support your product. Is that how that works quite a bit, Paula?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reality is people want to if they can afford, and there's an affordability issue here. So they're not going to buy a product just because it necessarily is doing good for the environment. It has to be a product that they need, that they want. And people are willing to pay that little bit more.
That's right.
If they can.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what differentiates between these two companies, whatever they are, that are doing the same business. I want to support this one. Not that this other one is a bad company, but they tie into things that I'm interested in, whether it's climate change or whether it's, whatever the case may be. We are chatting with our friends from the University of San Diego at Kroc School, Dr. Paula Cordeiro, joined by her colleague Juan Roche. I'm Drew Schlosberg. Listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, joined by my guest co-host, Kamara White, will be an incoming communications manager at St. Martin's College. What's impact investing?
Yeah, so we make investments, companies, let me give an example. A foundation has a portfolio. They have lots of money in that portfolio. So foundations they're required by law to spend 5% on community programs. What about the other 95%? They're investing that money. What are they investing in? Are they investing in oil companies that are polluting the environment? Or are they investing in other forms, other kinds of organizations that are, other companies, that are doing good in the environment? So investors are more and more looking at what is the impact that the monies that they are putting into these companies and the profits that are being made. Because if you're investing, I'll give you one quick example. The Gates Foundation was working in West Africa, the Niger Delta, and in the health area. And they were spending an enormous amount of money to help people who are having all kinds of health issues. Then, when you looked at their portfolio, they were investing in companies that were polluting the Niger Delta. Okay, so they then stopped those investments.
Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world on this. So, Juan, obviously what you folks are doing in peace and justice and the B Corp and B Corp certifications, who doesn't think that's a good thing to do? Are there certain countries that are doing more advancement in that area? How is the United States doing in this playing field versus maybe, other countries that you guys visit?
Well, it's interesting that the B Corp movement began in the U.S.
Right.
But the rest of the world is doing much better than the U.S.
Yeah. Why does that not surprise me? Does it surprise you at all?
Well, no, okay. Actually, no. And the reason is that, to produce this change is not only a matter of the consumers pushing for that or the new generation pushing for that. You have to have a framework, a legal framework of regulations that support this.
That's right.
And in Europe, for instance, the legal framework is very much oriented to promoting this, whereas in the U.S. it's not so much.
Yeah, does that tie into here? What did I just say? That we're not going into politics, and that's what I'm doing, for God's sake. But doesn't deregulation sort of play into that in a potentially not a good way? when you start deregulating things or not keeping an eye on whatever it may be? Doesn't that have something to do with it?
Yes. When I hear that type of arguments, what always comes to my mind is Adam Smith was the father of the free market economics, right?
Right.
And everybody talks about his book, The Wealth of Nations, but people forget that he wrote another book that's called The Theories of Moral Sentiments, and in that book, more than 200 years ago, he said, in the future, corporations need to be regulated.
100%.
If they're not, then they're going to be monsters.
200%, 500%. You're spot on. That is absolutely so true. So getting back to the question, and I know Kamara's got a question on youth on this aspect of it, but I think it's so great what you folks are doing. The kids that are going through, the kids age 25, anybody's a kid to me, if they're within, 100 years of my age. That's got to be so rewarding that you are working with these kids that are focusing on this aspect. Because whether you're in the United States or in Rwanda or Mozambique, it doesn't make a difference. Changing the world for the better, always a good thing, because you guys have metrics behind it, of course, in that aspect. Listen, you must be so proud of the students that you got that come out of this program, Paula.
Yeah, we're amazingly proud of them, and they're asking for more.
Yes.
So after they graduate, and that's why we've developed the global seminar. Maybe they're still too young to participate in this, but we want to get their bosses in these companies. So we want these C-suite folks who are saying, when I went to business school, we didn't learn about benefit corporations. We didn't learn about employee ownership, which is another certification. So how can they learn? And that's why we're developing this seminar and taking these mid-career, late career, early retirees people to these 3 locations to learn how to do business better.
So I wish Eric Kaufman was sitting here. You know who Eric Kaufman is? He's a leadership guru, Harvard guy, and talks about it's always got to start with the C-suite folks to understand almost. If he was sitting right here, he'd be high-fiving you guys on this is exactly what we need to do in this aspect. Kamara, I know you have a question about youth and stuff, correct?
Yes. So what is your advice to any teens, youth overall, who don't know where to start, but they know that they want to make a change in their future, whether it be for the legal system, justice system, climate change, discrimination? What's your advice to them? How can we start and how do we start?
Well, having been a high school principal and worked with a lot of youth, what is a person passionate about? So if it's the environment, then what are, in your community, the different nonprofit organizations, whether it's rivers, parks, the ocean, who are they, what are they doing, and volunteer with them, learn more about those organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would add that what is happening with this new generation is really amazing. See, it's not only our students that come to the Kroc School with a social intention, because that's why they come to the program, but I also teach at the business school. And you see there that most of the students will be more than willing to take a pay cut and work in an organization that has a purpose. So the reason I'm saying that is that my advice will be passionate about what you do, be passionate about what you believe, and you can produce a change anywhere. It doesn't have to be in a non-profit organization. It doesn't have to be in a foundation. It could be anywhere, if you're passionate about the social change that you want to produce.
Yeah, that's spot on. So, Paula, for our listeners that whether they're young like Kamara or they're folks like Kamara's parents and say, I want my kid to go to the Kroc School and all that, how do they do that?
Well, we have a fairly open application process. It's pretty easy to apply. In our school, you have to have an undergraduate degree, and you have to demonstrate that you want to work in this space. So our students do these little mini videos where they share something they are passionate about, as Juan was saying. So we welcome having folks like you, Kamara. After you finish that undergraduate degree, take a look at the Kroc School.
That's good. Juan, what can our listeners do to support your efforts?
Well, it's okay. I was going to add that it's not only for the young students.
Yes.
This global seminar that we're putting together is precisely for people that already have a lot of experience, that are curious about what is happening and how things are changing, and they want to understand more. And those are more seasoned professionals.
Agree.
So I will, encourage any listener that is in that age range and experience range, ex-C-suite executives, to look into this global seminar.
Right. So if those boards of those C-suiters would say, we want you to go to this, learn about these things, that would be a good thing, I think, for 85 different reasons. So Juan, how can we support your efforts? How can our listeners support what you guys are doing?
Well, joining the global seminar.
Okay, go in the seminar. Okay, Can they donate? Can they volunteer? Get the word out? What's the best way of doing that?
Well, we offer different programs. We'd love to have people attend those programs. Okay. This fall, we'll have one connected to the Be Certified community or to the worker ownership, employee ownership community. So we welcome participation by everybody.
Right. And what's the website if anyone want to learn more about what you guys are doing?
Yeah, www.
Peace and Justice?
It's executive education.
Okay.
/ global executive seminar.
What I'd love to do is have you folks make a return appearance and then, chat about maybe have a student that has gone through the program and what they benefit from it. Maybe some companies that have said, listen, we've learned about this. One of our students now works for us. This is how we've changed our direction, and now we're being more purposeful. That's the street cred that's in there. And so I'd invite you folks to come back if you so desire.
Oh, love to do that. Yes.
Consider that a done deal. It's on record, so they have to do that, right, Kamara?
Yes. Absolutely.
Paula Cordeiro, it's always great to see you. Every time I'm with you, my IQ goes up. So I really appreciate that. Juan, what a pleasure meeting
My
you.
pleasure.
Thank you for what you are doing for so many different reasons. And this stuff is very exciting. Kamara, great questions on this. I think you're pretty excited about what they do here. And you may take Paul up on that offer. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 17th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing great things in San Diego for more than 60 years. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.